Hello and welcome to Talking Food with today, with Chef Carlo.
Yeah, that is you.
Today we have a special day. We have with us here Xavier, and we have Kate. They're part here of the Culinary College. They're very involved with this department of TV making, let's call it.
We do what we can.
You do what you can. Well, today, yes, there is no stove, there is no kitchen, there is no there's no fire, there is no grease, there is no protein being cooked, because today we were having a debate a couple of weeks ago. Well, what are we going to talk about today? There's so many delicious things. Oh my God, Christmas is coming. The eating season. It's not a holiday season. It's an
eating season.
It's the eating season. And what your favorite? What are we gonna do for the show? Let's do this. Let's do that. Oh my God! But I want to do this. So we decided to come together like a family.
Yes.
And talk about these wonderful recipes that could be a different thing to do on Christmas. So I have the support of this wonderful people.
I'm glad we can help.
Well, thank you.
I'm glad we can help.
And so right now we're going to talk, what is Christmas for you and what's your favorite recipe? Xavier, how do you do Christmas?
We pretty much do Christmas is first we open presents, and then my grandma cooks. She cooks like a ton of food. And
What does she cook?
she cooks ham. She cooks macaroni and cheese, which is personally my all-time favorite. Yeah, macaroni and cheese is like everything.
Always the best.
Yes. She does.
It's magical.
It's
There's
magic.
something about macaroni and
It's
cheese.
just the
It's
best.
Like
It's so
golden,
good.
cheesy, yes.
Amazingness.
And then she might do like some barbecue and some collard greens and some type of beans. Every year it's a different type of bean. So
Oh, nice.
she chooses to do that.
I like it. Very like traditional.
Well, actually, in
Southern.
European tradition, you always gonna have beans, some kind of bean for actually New Year's, because it's supposed to bring luck. Because in my house, we always do lentils.
It's kind of like around here, was it black-eyed peas that people make
Yes.
Yeah.
on the New Year? You know,
And
that's
then I
kind
think
of.
it's like collard greens for money or something.
Yeah, especially if you don't cook it to death.
Yeah, exactly.
It would still look somehow like money green.
Yeah.
Because I've seen how people cook collard greens sometimes. It's like, what is that?
You're kind of like, no, that's not something I
No.
want to eat.
No, that's collard greens. I'm like, no,
No, that's not.
Hold on. Collard greens are bright and green.
That's mush.
It doesn't look like compost.
Ew. Gosh, that's not something I want to eat. I do not want to eat compost.
No.
You've been to a couple of events around here in town that they give you collard greens, and you still go like, what is it?
Note to self, never make collard greens for Chef Carlo.
Yeah.
No, you can actually. We actually practice a technique of slicing herbs called chiffonade with collard greens. So I have them take the stem out and roll it, and then they have to slice it really thin. So after all the students are done, I have this massive pile of collard greens, and I tell them, okay, listen, let me show you this. I take a big saute pan, olive oil blended, not the extra virgin one. I throw the collard greens in there at high heat, and I saute them quickly. I take an orange, and I use the juice of the orange to deglaze the pan.
Ooh.
And then after 5 minutes,
Five.
minutes,
Only 5.
Only
only
five.
5 minutes
No
of
more?
cooking, no more, then I put on a plate and I tell them try. And they're like, no, but you haven't cooked them for 25 hours. Like, guys, trust me, try it. I've been down to Brazil, that's how they eat it down there, and it's delicious. I've been eating it that way. So they put it in their
Ooh.
mouth and it's like, oh.
Oh, that's how that's supposed to taste.
Yeah.
Oh, they still have a little
Right.
crunch and they're alive, and there's still some chlorophyll in there, the pigment that makes them go green.
It's not like you pick it up and you go, oh, that's
Wow.
soggy.
That
Yeah.
is mush.
Mush. That's not what I want to eat.
But no. So, yes, collard greens can be different.
Yeah.
Kate, what do you do for Christmas?
Well, we always do like the traditional ham, you know, like a glazed ham or something. What used to be when my grandfather was alive, we always did country ham. It was so salty. So salty, and he loved it, and I like it fine, but I'm much more
Wait,
of
but
a...
did they roast the country ham, or they put it with something?
we just kind of, we buy it.
Ouch.
We buy it.
That's salty. I mean, don't get me
Sorry.
wrong, country ham it's good, it's salty, it's delicious.
Oh, the country ham? I don't know where we got the country ham from.
There's actually somebody down here in Wilson, they're doing country ham, but it's so salty.
Yeah, and it's like, it's fine and all, but I'm much more of a honey ham girl. You know, like a sweeter kind of glazed ham.
That's fine. I mean, you can still take the salty country ham and add it onto something.
Yeah. But otherwise, it's just on its own. It's just way too much for me. So we do that. We do ham, and we do. My mom has a recipe for chicken tetrazzini that she makes every.
That's really Greek.
I don't really know. I don't know what.
Tetrazzini.
Yeah, it's like
It sounds like it could be.
Give me your. So it's I'm trying to think what it is. It's basically like spaghetti, but cheese is like cheese whiz and olives and cream of mushroom soup.
Cheese whiz.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It is delicious. It's so good. It's the best thing ever. Our family, they actually call it Chicken Cindy because my mom makes it for. My mom's name is Cindy, and she used to make it like all the time for holidays and stuff like that, and the family loves it. So now it's Chicken Cindy.
Cheese whiz. Out of a can.
Out of a jar.
Jar. I'm sorry.
Not the like you can like spray it into your mouth stuff.
So you've been around my house on Saturday at 3 o'clock in the morning. It's like, I'm hungry.
It's lots and lots of cheese.
Mm-hmm.
No, but listen, nothing against liquid cheese whiz. I've seen it. I've been to Philly to the famous Geno's and Pat's.
Oh, yeah,
and
cheesesteaks.
And you gotta try it. It's a cheesesteak, and they have this big number 10 can. It says, they don't even hide it.
They're like, yeah, we use it.
Cheese whiz, and they just pump it out, and they just put it on your cheesesteak, and okay, you try it, and I'm like, I'll have the provolone next time.
Yeah, no, I'll take provolone over cheese whiz any day.
Okay, so they make chicken Cindy, and what else?
Let's see. Curried fruit.
What?
I don't know.
Let's say curried fruit
It's
is a
like,
different one.
She just shows up and eat. That's awesome.
Yeah.
You know how awesome it is just to show up and eat?
Yeah,
That's great.
it's like I can't describe it, but I think it's like cherries and all this kind of stuff, and it's other fruits, and it's like baked in the oven, and I'm pretty sure it must have curry in it.
So curry as in savory.
Yes.
So they take the fruits, they toss them in.
It like kind of you just kind of let it bake in
that's a
its
side
juices.
dish.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
Okay,
it's interesting.
My brother has friends, and he was talking to them about it, and they're like, what is curried fruit? And he's like, well, here, I'll show you. And he like took a picture and sent it to them. They're like, still don't understand. Still don't understand.
Well, listen, it's a side dish with curry spices, and it's a side dish.
Yeah.
I mean, you tell me about that. Sure, add some bacon.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
So you can take the apples, cranberries, and any kind of fruit, and then saute it in bacon fat, and add the curry and more bacon. And
Anything sautéed in bacon fat, I will.
Yeah.
well, bacon is kind of like the duct tape of the kitchen. When something goes wrong, add bacon.
You throw bacon in it.
Throw bacon in it.
It's
absolutely
automatically.
good.
You throw bacon, and it always like fixes everything.
I like that, the duct tape of the kitchen.
I call it the
that was
duct tape
different.
of the kitchen. It's like whenever, I had never heard somebody saying, there is too much bacon in here.
Too much. There's no such thing.
Have you ever heard anybody saying there's too much bacon?
No, never. And if someone does, I'm going to be like, I'm out. Bye.
Yeah,
See you.
something's wrong with you if you too much.
But that, and then I've started making cheesecake.
Okay.
I've learned to make cheesecake, and so I make like New York style cheesecake for
Nice.
dessert. It's good stuff.
It takes a bit, I mean, it takes about 5-6 hours to make a nice cheesecake.
Exactly.
Add some pumpkin next time, and that's ready for fall.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So I just do like plain New York style, and then after I bake it, I just kind of let it cool in the oven for about 5 or 6 hours.
So it gets nice and and then you put it in the fridge.
Yeah.
It gets nice and thick, so you can slice it.
Yeah, and that way, if you keep it in the oven, I've noticed it helps to keep it from cracking on the top.
Yes.
So
It's that gentle heat that will not. See, cheesecake have to be cooked with a gentle heat because of the custard. So if you ever cook it with a high heat, it will tend to crack on top.
But I've recently started doing that, and I love it.
You can top it with curry fruit.
I don't know about that in bacon. I was about to say, maybe if bacon's added onto it.
Well, listen, I don't see anything wrong with a cheesecake. Then you add a little bacon in it
I think
and a little.
I might have to.
bourbon.
That's like a breakfast cheesecake.
And it's very different.
Bourbon bacon cheesecake.
Well, after the 15th of December, it's completely acceptable in the morning to have a little bourbon in your coffee.
This is true. This is true.
That's it. We're not at work.
No, exactly. We're going to be
driving.
out. There's nothing wrong with it. Make it an Irish coffee, and it's all right.
There you go, an Irish coffee. We'll call this one the Tennessee coffee.
The Tennessee coffee.
It has Jack Daniels in it. Why are you doing that? Yeah, it's great.
Because I can.
Because it's there. My family's coming. We're gonna shop and stuff like that.
You need it.
But here's a couple of my favorite guys.
All right.
I was collecting a couple of things, and this year I was going to do something different for Christmas. Each Christmas I try to do something different, and my family always wants a turkey. Yeah, turkey's there, and then I do something different. Last year I did seafood pasta on tomato sauce for Christmas, and it was like a hit. Everybody ate it. But here's a couple of my favorites. This year I'm going to try to do prime rib.
Ooh.
Well, try to do. I have to agree with everybody, and I mean, look at that.
Oh. Can I come to your house?
Sure, come
Awesome.
over.
Sorry, family.
Because I'm gonna have a really full house this Christmas, and I'm like, what am I gonna do to make it easier on me? Because of course it falls on me when it's in my house. I'm not lucky enough to go to somebody else's house, and they go like, bring a side dish, like wine.
And wine that constitutes.
Wine constitutes a side dish, especially when you're invited somewhere else. And if they ask for dessert, you bring bourbon and ice cream, because bourbon and ice cream together is fantastic.
Good stuff.
But this is I'm going to do this one because it's very simple. You just take the ribeye, and depending on how many people you have, I mean, you can go to the Sam's Club or the wholesale places and get this massive ribeyes. And basically on this one, you just have to rub it with a lot of salt on the outside. I let it sit for about 24 hours in the fridge over a cookie rack, so the salt can impregnate on the outside. And here's the myth. It doesn't matter how much seasoning you put on the outside, it won't get into the meat. So the good thing is, if you're an expert or a novice ribeye eater, you always know that you eat a little bit of the outside with the center, because the flavor is all going to be on the outside.
Now, how do you cook it? I mean, how well?
In the oven.
No, well, nice. Like, how do you what, like rare or medium rare or?
It depends. Because I have a couple of well done people in my house. I try not to tell them their family, because nobody has to eat well done steak. And that is. It's considered a sin. But anyhow, what I do is I take it to medium.
Medium.
That way the ends, the cap end, always going to be well done.
Right.
So whenever you have a nice ribeye roast, and you always going to have the people that have, oh, I have the steak well. I'm like, really? I'm trying to do a ribeye standing ribeye roastery? No problem. Have no fear, because the cap ends are always going to be a little bit on the well done side, because they're going to be exposed to more heat. Once you cut the cap end, then the rest is the meat that is only the heat only has been exposed on the outside, not in the center, not as much in the center. And I usually go 350 degrees, 20 minutes per pound, and I don't like to go much by timing. I use my trusted meat thermometer. Some people, oh, if I touch it, I can judge if it's medium rare. It's too big.
Yeah, I can imagine, with a regular steak, like a fillet or something,
the
you can tell.
Steak, you
but
can
something
tell.
like that,
it's too big. So I usually take my thermometer, stick it in there. Once it reaches 145 degrees, I take it out of the oven, cover it with aluminum foil, because a lot of people make the mistake with any roast, and I'm talking pork loin, even turkey. You don't slice it as soon as it comes out of the oven. All the proteins, they have these protein coils that you've been heating up this protein for a long while. All these protein coils are all tense. They're all coiled up, and if you start slicing your meat, the juice, the protein is basically going to be tightening the water cells, because protein is made out of 70% water. And as you cut it, it's going to just bleed a lot of juice out. It's going to be dry.
right?
You always let it sit for about 15 to 20 minutes. What about steak? About 5 minutes. Let it always sit before.
But something that big.
That big, because it's going to be so hot inside. Don't worry, it's not getting cold.
Okay.
and let it sit for about 15 to 20 minutes. The temperature actually is going to go up to about 150, and then you give the well-done eaters the ends, and the people that sit there like me and go like, rare meat, will do the center. I usually bake it on top of a rack, and I put veggies on the bottom. I use those veggies. I boil them, I simmer them with some chicken stock or beef stock, and I make a little sauce on the side, like a velouté or a jus, which is just the liquid, and you can just dip your beef in there.
Oh, that looks so
Sounds
good.
amazing.
I'm hearing you, but I'm just like,
It's just like,
drool.
Camera don't show.
Yeah, just drool just coming. Excuse me, sorry.
Now I serve this one with the net slide, which is bacon potatoes au gratin.
Yes, please. Yes.
Which
Please.
is, it sounds very very fun, but it's basically Yukon potatoes, which is a low starch potato, so they keep the shape. And I run it through the mandolin, and I make this beautiful layer. So basically here what you do is you make a bechamel, and you add lots of cheese. What cheese? The recipe suggests for Parmesan cheese. I like to just get a little bit on the mozzarella side, because it's like my Italian DNA, and some fontina. So as you cut it and you bringing up the potatoes, you have that lasagna pizza effect. You have
the cheese just stretching.
Yeah.
Stretching. And of course, how much cheese? Not too much. It has to be a nice balance between the potatoes and the cheese.
See, I've never heard someone say not too much cheese.
Because, I mean,
It's like, to me, it's always been like bacon.
but it depends. Because then what happens, it turns into a dip.
Okay.
So
It's
we
a
don't want to
texture
dip.
thing.
It's a texture thing. So we don't want to dip. We want a cheesy potato. So if you add too many potatoes, too much cheese. If you add too much cheese, then it's gonna be a dip. So back to the side dish. A nice mixture of, I will add fontina cheese, mozzarella cheese, very simple bechamel. And let's say you have gluten-free people in the audience at home, because it's always a chance. Your bechamel sauce, instead of making it with flour, use cornstarch or potato starch.
Okay.
Because cheese is naturally gluten-free, potatoes are gluten-free. And instead of making a bechamel with flour, boom, potato starch or cornstarch.
And I love a really good bechamel sauce.
So about how much cheese do you think someone would use for like a small family of 4?
Well, see, I go by formulas, and the good thing is I have all the recipes that I can share with anybody that needs it, but I usually add about 30% cheese per weight. So if I have 1 pound of potatoes, I would add about 6 ounces of cheese.
Okay.
That is my own formula. Then if you make it, it's like, that's not enough cheese, then you put any cheese you want.
Yeah.
See, you make it once, and then you go like,
That needed.
yeah, then you make your own corrections. Like, no, this one needs to be floating in cheese. And then you'd be like, okay, fantastic. You want it floating in cheese? Floating cheese. But I like the texture. I like to feel the texture of the potatoes still in the layer. And I bake it non-covered so it can form this nice crust on top. I try not to put cheese on the top. Only the last layer, I only do potatoes.
Is it so the potatoes on the top can get
Crispy?
Yeah.
And what happens if you put cheese, the cheese will brown before the potatoes. So when you think, oh my God, it's getting burnt, no, it's the cheese getting too caramelized.
Yeah.
And then what happens is the potatoes in the center are not cooked because you're going to pull it out because you think the cheese on top is overcooked.
Okay.
So I just finish it with just potatoes and a little bit of bechamel, but just potatoes right on top.
I'm a potatoes girl, which is not the healthiest thing in the world, but I love potatoes.
Anything in moderation.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you want to take it a step further, the bechamel, it's made with milk, roux is made with fat and flour. You can add bacon fat into the bechamel. And then
You're speaking my language. You're speaking my language.
There's lots of bacon going around this season
It's
too.
Christmas.
Yeah.
It's supposed to, that's cheat day.
Yeah.
Kate, what are you making for
you
Christmas?
You don't know what is cheat day. You're in your 20s.
It's like, Kate, what are you making? Bacon.
Bacon, potatoes, bacon,
Bacon.
this, bacon. I mean, the easiest way to trick your, let's say, turkey. Everybody bakes the turkey breast up. I bake it breast down. Because what happens when you bake the turkey is a lot of juices will fall to the bottom. So always the bottom is more tender. So I bake the turkey breast down all the way so the breast can sit in the juices. You want to give it even more flavor, more moisture between the skin, slide some bacon in there. And it's very simple because you can take the bacon, wrap it around your hand, you just put it like that, and just shove it into the skin. Once you pull your hand out, the bacon stays there. Bacon has the ability to make the protein moister because it will release water and fat. You don't want the smokiness of the bacon, find a butcher that has pork bellies and tell them to slice the fresh pork belly and put that when you're, between your turkey and your skin.
Oh, wow. See, I like that. I like that trick. Next time we cook a turkey.
See, my mom doesn't like, bacon has smoky flavor.
Not necessarily.
Pork belly.
Yeah, I mean, I like pork belly. It depends
also. I mean, we could do a whole show on bacon. The cheap bacon actually is not really smoked. What they do is they spray smoke flavor in it. It's not really,
the real
it's
smoky
not the real
flavor.
Smoky flavor, because actually good quality bacon, it has to have a hint of smoke. It doesn't have to stink of smoke. Yeah, that's when they just spray them with the smoke flavor.
Artificial smoke flavor.
Now, if you want to go crazy, how we do with time? Oh my God.
What?
Okay. Now, let's say there's appetizers, and let's say you want to splurge a little bit. My favorite, we're gonna make some lollipops.
Oh.
But,
audible reaction.
But out of lamb. So you're gonna take the lamb rack that comes. It's basically the loin attached to the bone. And when you cut it and you clean the bone and then you grill it, it looks like a lamb lollipop. It's not really a lollipop, but the way I eat them, it looks like lollipop.
I feel like that's the only way to eat it.
Yeah.
You can set it down on a plate.
No, that's
nicely,
not fun.
But I have done this recipe multiple times, even for parties, as an appetizer, as a pass hors d'oeuvre, because you can put it on a plate and you have the bone sticking out, and people go like, "Oh, what is that?" Lamb lollipops. It's basically a lamb rack that is being sliced and cutely. And then the seasonings. I mean, we can go as complex as using a 5-spice Chinese powder, which is a mixture of coriander, cloves, star anise that will give it like an Asian kick, or as simple as salt and pepper. Because lamb has its own flavor.
So it kind of just depends on what your taste is, like what you prefer.
Again, also, who's the crowd? You want to go crazy, you want to go simple. And lamb has a flavor that stands by itself, and you can just add a little bit of basil on top of it. You can even skip the basil. It just looks pretty with the green.
Yeah, it looks really nice.
You don't want to go do basil that has a specific basil flavor, then add some parsley on top of it. And just grill it. Again, to medium. There are some people that like lamb rare. Like when the animal stops moving, give it to me.
Exactly.
And there's people that eat it well done. So for this, guys, just grill them to medium. The good thing when you grill them, also, if there is any, because the bone you have to scrub it really well, so there's no pieces of skin or anything. Once you grill it, any sinew or anything that was attached to the bone will burn off, and you end up with a nice clean bone. It can be easily picked up. So
that looks amazing. I'm not. Yes, please.
If
That's just.
Yes, please.
Yes, please.
Okay. Next one is, I didn't know it was Andrew's favorite, but it's worth mentioning. We're gonna take chicken and call it coq au vin. It's basically chicken stew in wine.
Okay, I always wonder because I know vin in French is wine.
Yes.
So that's but now it makes.
It is.
I never put the two together.
You see the beautiful red color is because instead of using water or stock, only red wine.
Okay.
So that's it. It's a braise, and my favorite is with mushrooms. You use carrots, celery, and onions, and mushrooms, and the liquid is going to be red wine. You can bread the chicken before the braising consists of, first of all, you take your proteins and you're going to braise. You're going to cook them in hot oil to give them a little bit of color, caramelize the outside, and then you're gonna add the liquid. You're gonna also caramelize the veggies if you want, cook them a little bit, and then your liquid, it is gonna braise for about, if it is chicken, 2 hours is gonna be perfect. If it is beef, you wanna go 3 to 6 hours. But the beautiful thing is this dish screams winter. It just screams winter.
It looks hearty and warm and filling.
And then if in winter I like to add turnips. Turnips, no, that's a horrible veggie.
That's not.
Listen, no, turnip, parsnips. Yeah, turnip, listen, it was round. They dug it in the earth. God didn't want you to find it. They dug it deep in there.
There's a reason it's buried.
There's a reason it's buried. Not a big fan of turnip. Now, parsnips, which is basically looks like a carrot but it's white. I would love to add it to this dish because it really calls for winter. It has that anise flavor. It has the good texture in there. So besides the recipe, I will add just a little bit of parsnips just to give it that winter color. And the good thing about coq au vin, it can be served on top of mashed potatoes, pasta, polenta. You guys are like, what's polenta, Chef Carlo? Okay,
I've had it, but I don't know exactly what it is.
Watch episode number, I can't remember where we made polenta. But it's basically Italian grits.
Oh, okay.
They're not too runny. They're actually made with yellow corn, or can be made with corn, and it can be also, it will go great with this.
What about like a risotto?
Excuse me. You're gonna work that much on Christmas? Fine.
No.
It can be served with a very simple risotto or just plain white rice. But yes, and you know what? The risotto you can add bacon fat.
Yes.
We're just gonna have bacon the entire season. We're just gonna have bacon.
My heart's gonna hate me.
You didn't know it was the bacon show. We just masqueraded as the Christmas special because there's other stuff to talk.
The bacon special.
We're just gonna talk about bacon the whole time.
Next side, so simple. It's one of my favorite. Cream spinach.
Ooh, I love cream
spinach.
As
simple as just saute spinach, a little bit of garlic, salt, and pepper, add a little bit of heavy cream. Boom, done. It's one of my favorites. It's so simple. Oh my God, time is running fast. Okay, hold on. Hold on. Now, the next one is something we did a couple of weeks ago. It's pancetta. It's pork loin wrapped in pancetta, but it's a very fancy porchetta. It's basically you take pork loin, not the spinach, but we did it as a Christmas special. Thanksgiving special, something different. And it's basically your pork loin wrapped in Italian bacon called pancetta and stuffed with herbs.
I was about to say, what's on the inside? Herbs.
Usually rosemary, sage, and it depends in Italy where you come from. There's specific herbs, but you can never go wrong with a little bit of rosemary, garlic, and sage.
Okay.
And just wrap it, roast it, and that could be your nice Thanksgiving special. Well, kids, we're almost out of time.
No.
Yes. Yes.
I think I'm hungry.
Say what?
A little bit. I think I'm hungry a little bit.
Well, thank you for joining us today. We had 20 recipes we wanted to talk about, but it's been quite fun. And let us know if you want any of the recipes. We'll be glad to share it. Thank you for being with us here today. Try something different for Christmas. It doesn't have to be anything. You want to do your ham with honey glaze and curried veggies and Cindy chicken? Go ahead. Try something different. Try something seafood pasta. You know what? Go crazy. Make pizzas. Yeah. Homemade pizzas for Christmas.
Ooh.
I might have that for Christmas lunch.
With bacon.
You know what? I usually do that with the leftover from Christmas. I make pizzas the next day.
Oh.
That's wonderful.
And bacon. Yeah. Sure. Bacon.
Bacon.
All bacon.
Guys, thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having us.
Be careful. I have your cell phones now. You're going to be part of this show more often.
Always. Anytime. And I'll be glad to.
And thank you, you guys, for watching. And I will see you next week. Thank you, Kate. Ken. Thank you, Xavier.
You're welcome.
Have a good one.